Hello, my friends. Happy Sunday. Splotchy has joined us for this live. He's sitting here purring away on my shoulder, excited to learn about taco stamping, mostly because cats love food. So there's that. Hello, Dina. How are you? Happy Sunday. Hard to believe it's Sunday, actually. Having a hard time with the fact that tomorrow is Monday. But it is what it is. Hello, Jane. I know someone with your exact same last name. That's unusual. Hey, Peg. Hope you guys are doing great. I hope you stamped this weekend. I did a lot of holiday card making. Hope you're all excited about the kit tomorrow. I'm sure you all saw the countdown. It's going to be completely insane. It's so pretty. So, but I made some other holiday cards this weekend. When it's 90 degrees, it's hard to really be in the holiday spirit, but I have to say, it's always fun to play with holiday stamps. I don't know why. I could make Halloween cards all year long, but when it turns to like fall and Christmas, it's just a fun time to stamp, don't you think? I think so. I'm going to use, we're going to do a couple of different things tonight. Okay, so obviously this is part of our mixed media series. And so there is going to be mixed media. But we're also going to do a throwback, like kind of a modification of a throwback technique from the late 1900s called retiform. You can look that up if you have not heard of it, but I'm going to show you kind of a twist on that tonight. There are a bunch of different ways to do retiform. So I'm going to show you just some little tips on how to kind of make it modern, and then to show you the taco stamping. Oh, just wait. Terrain. I hope I'm saying that right. You'll see what the taco stamping is. Hello, Deb, my fellow Texan. Good to see you. I'm about almost 4 hours south of you in Austin, Texas. So, of course, I had to do taco stamping. I mean, it's Texas. It's what we have to do. So here are the kind of the basics that you need to do retiform and taco stamping. So to do the taco stamping, you need a cling stamp. Taco stamping does not work with wood-mounted stamps. So this is special for the two kind of free form. Oh, we have lots of Texans here tonight. Hello, Barbara. And you can use any photopolymer stamp as well. So this works for both of these kind of stamps that you would normally either use with a MISTI or with a acrylic block. Lee! How are you, Lee? I got a squirrel table from you. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So you need a cling or photopolymer stamp or both. You need some ink. In my opinion, this is one of the most underrated colors. This is a beautiful color. We're going to do kind of a vintage look tonight. And kind of a more neutral. This can be black. It can be brown. It can be whatever you want. You can also do this technique in a bunch of different colors. I am going to be using the Hero Pearls. And the tip I want to give you on these, if these have been on your shelf for a little bit, just really shake them really well before you get started. You will also need some blender brushes. I have 2 different sizes here, and you'll see why. And then San Antonio, Texas does have the best food. San Antonio has phenomenal food, Peg. You will need some sort of like washi tape, masking tape. This is some artist masking tape. You can do whatever, or you can just mask it off with paper. That's completely up to you. So I agree. Christmas stamping all year. I know Lee does that. Lee and I both try to stamp holiday cards throughout the year. Now, typically in a retiform technique, you're not usually stamping your focal images first, but I'm going to show you a little trick. So, oh, that's a great question, Jane. Core inks versus regular ink pads. So a core ink pad means it's a dye-based ink, okay? So that's different from a hybrid ink. A hybrid ink, and you can just flip them over and you'll be able to see what the difference is. This is a dye-based ink pad, acid-free, archival, and fade-resistant when heat set. But then hybrid inks can be used with alcohol markers, etc. So some of the colors are hybrid inks, and some of them are the core dye inks that will be reactive with different kinds of mediums. They're not the same as our water reactive inks like the Hero Hues, but they are a dye ink that would be reactive with alcohol markers. So these are great. They're waterproof, which is why I'm using a core ink today, because I'm going to also be ink blending. So I need this to be waterproof. But the hybrid inks also can be used with alcohol. So both different kinds of solvents, alcohol and water, can be used with the hybrid ink. So great question. Great question. Yes, I agree, especially fall. Okay, so normally in a retiform technique, you're dividing your paper up into angled sections, and you're ink blending each of those sections, and you're stamping in each of those sections, and it comes out really cool. You're going to see what that looks like in a minute. And normally you will mask it off, and then you'll stamp your focal images last. But I'm going to stamp my focal images first, and I'm going to show you why. So I have these set up in my Mini Misty, and I kind of strategically place them, and you'll see how I did that in just a second. So I'm going to stamp these in Cup of Joe. Okay, the foxes, they have little dark feet, and so I need those to be a dark color, kind of darker than my background. So I'm starting with that color. And we will stamp this a couple of times until we get it as solid as we want it. Autumn stamping is my favorite. That's why I picked the little foxes for tonight. I just love the imagery of autumn, even though we don't really have that season here. I love everything about it. I used to live in New York, and so I know what a true autumn is like. And it's beautiful. It's the best season, in my opinion. Okay, so this little foxy's feet and this little ear need a little bit more ink. So we will stamp one more time. Hey, Brienne. How are you? Fox feet, fox ear, a little extra pressure. And that looks really good. So we can take this out now. Put that aside. And you can see that I've already played with my pearls earlier. This is the one where it wasn't, I could tell I started just to use them and it wasn't really mixed. So be sure you give those a good shake if they've been sitting for a little bit. Now, the reason that these foxes are all over the place is because of the retiform design that I'm going to do. Hey, Cordelia. My neighbor's name is Cordelia. Okay, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use tape for this. But like I said, you can use masking paper. You can use anything you want. I like, even though this is a low tack artist tape, I like to get a little bit of the tack off before I put it onto my paper. Yeah, Barbara, no kidding. Whatever the opposite of autumn is, we've been experiencing that for 6 months and we're over it. Rachel, I'm so happy you're here. Good to see you. Okay, so this is just for ink blending. It's not like we're putting like a heavy water medium on here. So it's okay if it becomes very low tack after you do this. But this is the kind of the basics of retiform. You're going to create these angled sections that are going to separate one part of the design from another. So I will section this off, and this means that you're even going to have some little small sections. That's where it's going to be fun to do the taco stamping. And you might also want to have just some scratch paper, scrap paper. I know there's a big divide about whether or not people say scratch paper or scrap paper. I say both. But you'll want one of those to kind of mask off little sections as well. And I'll show you what I mean by that. No, no autumn in Houston. Hardly ever, right? We go straight from boiling hot summer to ice storms in Austin. In Houston, it's mostly just boiling hot summer all the time. Okay, so I'm creating more angles here. And yeah, Pennsylvania and upstate New York. So I'm from upstate New York and I went back for college, and there's nothing like fall in upstate New York. Spring is beautiful too, but fall is magical. Okay, so I think this is enough. I have kind of a small section here, That's okay. You just want some kind of sharp angles here. So the first thing that we're going to do before we do any of the taco stamping is we're going to ink blend. And this is where you'll need the other little pieces of paper, because we're going to do 2 different kinds of ink blending. So let me grab my ink stand. The inventor of the inkstand is here with us tonight, by the way, in case you didn't know that, like, from all the paparazzi, that there were celebrities here. But Brienne invented this essential ink blending tool, just so you know. Okay, so first I'm going to do an all over blend before I kind of section it off and do a little more accent blending. So I will put this over here, and I'm going to get a light overall color on all of the masked off sections, including on top of the foxes. So this is like, it's almost like a collage technique, but it's done with stamps and ink. And then this masking tape is going to give us like a bright white division between the retiform sections. So you can either have a division between the retiform sections, or they can like butt right up against each other. That is totally up to you. In the late 1900s when we did it, we were just doing it like with sponges and like animals and pieces of paper. So typically the sections were right next to each other. But now that we have all these great tools, nice blending brushes, teeny tiny masking tape, washi tape, all kinds of stuff, we can kind of do whatever we want. Okay, so you'll want a base color that's all over. So this is fawn. And now the entire thing is colored. So now this is where we want to switch to our smaller brush. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one section at a time, and you'll ink up your smaller brush, and you'll just accent the edges where the tape is. See how it's getting darker right there by the tape? just by the tape. You just want those little intersections to get a little bit darker. This is kind of a layering process that's really fun, and it makes each section kind of unique from each other. I love the fox too. Yeah, same here, Deb. Oh, our trees after that ice storm we had in Austin, and then we couldn't water all summer because we were on water restrictions. Our trees are just in really bad shape. Now, when you're doing a small section like this, really honestly, it's going to be pretty dark. So don't get too hung up on that. Now, I might need multiple pieces of paper here. Hello, Slow Crafter. Y'all, if you see a little YouTube icon next to people's names, a lot of times that means they have a YouTube channel. So check out each other's YouTube channels. Okay, so I'm covering up kind of this little intersection. So I really need both of those pieces of paper. And you can see how this is defining each section little by little. Okay, so now I can kind of move away from holding down that piece of paper. You kind of need to be an octopus to do this. Thank goodness for the ink stand, or my ink pad would also be sliding all over the room. So I don't have to worry about that. Thanks, Brienne. Okay. So we'll outline that section, and then that makes the center of each section kind of glow. Over here, again, this is a very small section, so it's just going to have to be kind of dark all over. No big deal. Okay, so I will mask off 2 sections at a time on this one. And this is sort of a foxy color, but literally this can be done in any color. Any color. Oh, and you'll also see examples of this done in multiple colors where each section is a different color. And that's fun too. But the key is to have just angular little divisions where you can highlight stamps. And we'll keep these pieces of paper handy for the taco stamping portion of the program. But already, look how defined and fun that is. It's going to be great when we pull off the tape. It's going to be so fun. So here, this one has 3 sides, so I'll be lazy and save that for last. And accent these little guys. But it's great if, for example, like when we were doing this way back in the day, if you really are limited in the number of ink pads you had, when I started stamping, we didn't have, 50 different colors of ink available to us at a time. So this was a way to kind of stretch your ink just a little bit. If you just had a couple of colors, or even if you just had one color, it's a fun way to highlight one color. So whatever your favorite color is. Okay, I'm going to be brave. And since this section is already pretty dark, I don't have to really mask that off. I don't need my 3rd piece of paper to do that. Okay. Oh, it's going to be so fun, Dina. Oh, I'm so glad you haven't seen it. One of the things I like to do when I'm doing techniques is I like to do these really old techniques because, if you're ancient like me, then it could be that there are new stampers who are not ancient that haven't seen this technique. And so it's new to them. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I have this script background stamp. And for taco stamping, what you want to do is what's great about cling stamps and photopolymer stamps is they are very flexible, right? So you can bend them so that you can get just a partial image. So that gives you like a grungy kind of mixed media distressed look to your stamps. Whereas if you have a block or a MISTI, you're getting these kind of perfect all over images. So taco stamping means literally folding a stamp like a taco and just getting little bits of the image to give you all over pattern. And the idea with retiform is you're going to have these unifying elements, right? So I'm able to ink up this stamp. You can ink it up however you want. You don't have to ink it up when it's folded. And then you can kind of manipulate it and stamp it where you want it. So you just have a little bit of that image creating texture in a certain part of the retiform frame that you've built for yourself. And it makes the design of your stamps very abstract, more abstract than they really are. So this is actually a pretty neat and tidy stamp, this script stamp, but we're turning it into something that's more just like an abstract background than it is really a, you know, cohesive image. The other thing is when you're putting it down, I can put my finger down here and just give pressure where I want it so that I don't have any text going on top of that little fox. I'm just kind of avoiding that area in general. You can use different parts of the stamp. So I'm in no danger of stamping over on top of that fox because I'm controlling where it is with my finger and by bending the stamp. So see how abstract and fun that is. And the tape, you know, is you get like a little bonus because the tape is holding that down onto your mat. So I'm inking it up. I'm only pressing in the area where the fox is not, getting a little texture, little tiny bit of texture. And you can make it go all different ways because it's abstract. There you go. So I'll show you how to do that with a clear stamp. See, the tacos make sense. I bet y'all were wondering what the heck we were talking about. Okay, so on these, they kind of stick to your hand, which is nice. Same thing. We're just going to come in here, put that wherever we want it. This stamp, you can tell I've done this a lot, and I kind of need to clean it so it's not super duper sticky on the back. Brand new stamps will be more sticky, but I'm going to go all over with this text because I love a good text stamp. Make it go all different directions for the most variety. You know, don't just have it right side up, for example, and it'll be more kind of interesting that way. Any of our background stamps will work for this. Okay. So there we go. So now you have all these little words in the background. You can do other little, this is kind of an organic shape. This little kind of cobblestone almost texture that can go over larger sections and sort of weave it all together. So all of these unify all the different sections, even though they're all going to be separated by that tape. They're going to be held together by the patterns that you've stamped across each section with taco stamping. Okay. You just build it up. Buttercup. Every time I say build it up, I want to say buttercup. It's a compulsion. I can't do anything about it. Okay, so again, I can just press my finger on the part of the stamp that I want, and then I'm not worried about covering up part of the fox. And I want the foxes to kind of glow. So let me show you how that looks in the background. It looks a little messy because you're going to be distracted by the tape right now, but it's actually just a really fun texture. And I'm going to torture you for a little while and not show you the final result for a minute of the masking while I do a little bit of accenting with a white paint pen. So we're going to make the little tail sections white because he's a fox. And any other little accents you want to kind of stand out from the background. Like maybe the acorn, maybe that needs to be white too. Maybe a little, the dots on the mushroom need to be white. Maybe the mushroom cat needs to be white. This is always just a fun touch that I like to do, especially if it's a monochrome retiform. It just kind of brightens the whole thing up, gives you a little different color to work with. Sometimes you have to kind of prime that pen a little bit, get that going. And the last little fox. Let's see, this should all be white. Give it a little fur texture by doing little strokes. You can brighten it up if you need to with additional little layers of paints. Oh, hey, Libby. Okay, so now, like I said, it looks all messy. It's not going to be. And we're going to do another unifying element. So, like I said, the key to this retiform technique is that even though you're physically kind of separating the different sections, you're also going to unify them at the end. So I am going to kind of do a little heat gun action just so I don't smear the white paint. It's a great song though, right, Lee? It is a great song. Okay, now when you're doing this, I want you to be careful because depending on the tape that you're using, it might be non-porous. So it might, the ink that's on top, if it's not dry completely, it might come off on your hands. So when you're pulling masking tape off of your cardstock, keep it parallel to the cardstock like this. If any of you have seen Better Call Saul, then you will know that his technique of pulling the tape off the wall he painted at his law office was perfect. Someone on that crew was obviously a crafter because they know if you pull straight up, you're probably going to tear your cardstock. So you always keep it parallel. I learned this in my very first watercolor class, where of course I tore my watercolor paper. I mean, right? But that's how you learn. There's that great phrase that you win or you learn. Mistakes are tuition, right? So you win or you learn, one or the other. And really, technically, that means you win both times because learning is always good. But see what I mean about if I'm touching wet ink right here, and then I'm putting my hand over this brand new spanking white section, how I have a little risk of contaminating that section. So just go slowly, be really careful, keep your tape completely parallel to the surface and pull very, very slowly. So, especially if it's kind of a new to you masking tape and you don't know if it's going to be like the crazy masking tape or if it's going to be a good one. This is a good one. I've used it before, but still, you never know. Stuff can change. Yes, learning is a win. I do love these little foxes. They're so cute. Okay, this last piece, for whatever reason, maybe I put that on my arm a little bit longer, is coming off a lot better than the other ones. Okay, so I'll get it away from kind of this distracting background. There's some wet paint on there, so I'm going to try to be careful with that. And I'm also going to clean my hands before we go on to the next step. So it's always good to clean your hands. Okay. That's why I don't worry when I make a mistake when I'm crafting, because that's how you learn. Okay, so I'm going to take my white gel pen and I am going to give the eyes a little highlight. I like this when the stamp image eyes are all dark like that. I like to give them a little highlight. I think it's kind of fun. Okay, so now we're going to do another unifying element, which is the pearls. And this can be as abstract as you want it to be. I sort of have like a routine that I get into with these. And that's what I'm going to show you tonight. But you can do any other kind of unifying element for the retiform technique. So the taco stamping unifies it. We did that with 3 different stamps. But then this is going to unify it too, and it's going to give it texture. Oh, it kind of does look like comics. That's interesting, Brenna. Huh. You're right. Like the frames. Very interesting. Okay, so like I said, make sure that you shake these. Okay. And then test. Shake and test. Shake and test. So I think you could see on my other one, I hadn't shaken it on that first piece of paper. And so you always want to test on a different piece of paper. But I love these because they make such perfect little dots. Look at that. So what I do for my unifying Hero Pearls thing is I pick a different side on every section to put the little pearls on. Okay, so since I only have 2 choices here in this little tiny section, I'll do this first just so I know where to go in the next section. So I have that and that. So that means this section has to be the section with the dots. It's sort of like crafty Sudoku, right? I've eliminated those 2. So now I'm doing this one. Look at that. Isn't that fun? I love it. Now, since I did this one, then the section touching it, I need to do this one. And on this one, since I did this one, I'll do this one. And I'll do it farther in than the last one. And that means on this one, I could do that one, but it doesn't seem super balanced. So I'm going to do this. Okay. That one looked a little small. I love this because you can add to them and it doesn't hurt the other dots that you've already done. Now, this would be the time where you really don't want your cat to kind of go walking across your desk. That would be a problem. Okay, so I kind of have two different little walls going here, but I only have two choices. So to me, it makes the most sense to come down here and do this. And I like to do them in little groups of 3 just because that's kind of a satisfying design principle anyway. But if you wanted to add more, you could. So like over here, I could come over here. The other thing you can do, and I will never tell a soul if you do this, is if at some point you made a mistake or there was some kind of, stamp image you didn't like, maybe 2 things kind of went across each other and you didn't like the way it looked, cover it up with Hero Pearls, man. Cover it up. Okay, so a couple of these have 2. I might do... This is the overworking portion of the program, which I'm really good at. But it's like, how can you stop making these beautiful little gold dots? This is called Hero Pearls. This is gold. They come in different colors though. So get them all. They come in a little set so you can just get all the colors. And they're so beautiful. I use the white and the gold probably the most. It's like a pearly white. So look at those. You know what those look like? They look like, do y'all remember? Maybe they still make these. I don't know because I don't really have a sweet tooth, but they look like those little gold balls that you used to get on cupcakes. You could go buy them at the store and put them on your cupcakes. That's what it looks like to me. So now I might touch up a little bit of my paint. Yeah, the Retiform is so fun, Lee. There's so many different ways to do it. That's what I really like about it, is it's like every person that's ever done this Retiform technique has done it a different way. So that's so fun. So in the classic technique, there is no white division. You would just mask the sections so they were touching each other. But I like the starkness of the white division. And so I really like doing these sections, but you still have that unified Retiform look. And that's done with the taco stamping and of course with the pearls and all that stuff. But if you have a stamp set with really small images, this is the perfect technique because you can subdivide the card a lot more ways than I have. So you could have a bunch more little sections than I put on this, and you could put little tiny stamps in all of them. It's very fun. Well, Brenna, you'll have to try it. It really is a classic technique. It's been so long since I first did this technique. I mean, literally, it was in the 90s that I don't remember the origin of this technique. I can't remember if it's a photography technique or if it's a painting technique or what, but it's from some other art form and got adopted into stamping. But number one, it's a great way to show off your favorite ink color, which I love fawn. It has like such a nice sepia kind of tone to it. But number two, it's a great way to kind of, if you have 5 or 6 images in a stamp set and you don't really know how to use them together, just you put them in their own little frame. Like she said, it's like a cartoon. But yeah, oh good. I'm glad you like this darkness too. I like those clean divisions. And for a 1-layer card, like it really has a lot going on. And when you're doing the taco stamping, if you're using more than one stamp to do your taco stamping, Just look for things that are different. So I have a script stamp, I have a stamp with a serif font, and then I have an organic stamp. And you can combine those, and they tend to look really, really good together. And they just kind of go into the background as an abstract pattern instead of one overall pattern. So it's almost like the best of both worlds, like collage style stamping plus super clean and simple stamping if you do the Retiform. The pearls don't take that long to dry, Rachel. I would say in my climate, of course, I have to do the climate disclaimer. It's very humid here. I would say like 20 minutes. So it's one of the faster drying mediums. It dries faster than like embossing paste in Central Texas anyway. Yes, fawn is a nice fall tone too, but it really is like the perfect sepia. It's such a great color, and I just don't see it used enough. So I'm going to be the one-man marketing agency for fawn because I think it's great, and it looks beautiful with gold, don't you think? Looks really, really pretty with gold. So there you go. I can't put this on a card base with you guys because I need to let these dry, and knowing me, I'll just squish them flat and then I'll be sad. So I'm going to let that sit and dry until tomorrow, and then I'll put it on a card base. So yes, it's very sepia. Very, very sepia. So again, you don't have to have special masking tape or anything like that. You can do this with Post-it notes. So don't, you don't need special supplies to do this technique. Just stamps, Klinger photopolymer stamps, and just divide it up and use your blending brushes and your ink and your pearls, and you'll have a beautiful little collage style card. So, well, thank you so much for being here, Terrain. I really hope I'm saying that right. You have 20 seconds if you're in Colorado. If you're in the high desert, it's dry before you even put it on the paper. Okay, so y'all be sure, though, and tune in tomorrow. We'll go, first of all, if you haven't seen it yet, go over to the Hero blog and look at the countdown preview for the kit, and be sitting down because you might faint. It's beautiful. And then just wait until tomorrow because it's a really, 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 really pretty winter kit that I think y'all are going to love. And actually, I have a sample with this exact technique with my favorite stamp set from tomorrow's release. So I will post that somewhere on my socials so that you can see that you were here for the live class, and then you can see what to do with it with the October release tomorrow. So just another idea. So anyway, if you came in late, watch it. Yes, go check out the countdown preview on the Hero Arts blog. Tarani. Okay, Tarani, I got it. It's the preview of the My Monthly Hero kit, Barbara, which comes out tomorrow. It comes out on the first Monday of every month, along with the rest of the October release. So definitely go to the Hero blog tonight if you did not know about that, because you're going to see some pretty stuff. I'm just saying. And then tomorrow, it is at noon Central Time is the release. So you can also go to the Hero blog at noon Central Time tomorrow, and there's a blog hop, and you'll be able to see everybody's cards, including mine, and you're going to love it, I think. So have a good rest of your Sunday night. Give this a try if this is new to you. And no, it's on the Hero Arts website, Barbara. So it's going live on the Hero Arts website, not at Joann's. So the monthly kit is exclusively from Hero. So y'all have a good night, and I will see you in the Mixed Media group. If you try this technique, be sure and post it in our Mixed Media with Hero Arts Facebook group so that I can see it. And I will see you soon.